Hi folks, in this module you're going to create the rock, paper, scissors game. And this is what it looks like. You press a button here. It prompts you for what you want to throw. So I'll throw rock and then OK. And then it returns with you played rock, I played rock, we tie. So you can keep playing the game. I'll keep throwing rock here. You played rock, I played paper, I lose, meaning the computer lost, right? I'll keep playing here again. Rock. You played rock, I played rock, we tied. Let me try scissors now. Paper. You played paper, I played paper, we tie. Play paper again. You played paper, I played scissors, I win. So you get the idea. Um, in this video, what I'm going to be showing you more practically is just how to create a very similar game called just coin toss. Let's play flip a coin, and then it prompts you heads or tails, heads, and you lose, heads, you lose, eventually I'll win, you win, okay? Or you can do, anyway, you get the idea. So this relatively simple program is going to teach you a fair amount of things. It's going to teach you first about DOM manipulation, because up to now, all the text that you've been outputting is pretty much the console. What JavaScript really does really powerfully is allow you to actually, obviously, manipulate text and content in the actual screen. So it gives you hooks into what we call the DOM, the document object model. Let me show you the document object model for a second. So if you go into the module and you click on rock, paper, scissors, textbook reading, all the modules have textbook reading in them. If you click on textbook reading and open a new tab, and look down, they're arranged by each module. Here's the rock, paper, scissors one, and it's showing, and what you're going to learn is how to use JavaScript to manipulate the DOM, and here is more or less what the DOM looks like. Here's a description of it in W3 Schools. You have a sense of what the DOM is just from all the work you've done in HTML and CSS, okay? When you use CSS to manipulate the DOM, you can use JavaScript likewise to manipulate elements in the web page. And it can get pretty complicated, but in this assignment, all we're doing is really, you know, creating a little element that where we update the text inside the element. And then in addition to that, because of this is a game, you're flipping a coin. We also are working with something called the math object, and it's a method in it called the random method to decide whether the coin is going, heads or tails. And then also the way I'm coding this assignment, you wouldn't have to code it this way. I'm showing you also splitting the code up into two functions this time, and one function calls another function. So just again, by way of what you're going to learn here is you're going to learn how to manipulate the DOM in very basic ways. You're going to learn how to use the math object and its random method. And then you're also going to learn how to call a function from another function. Okay, let's get started. Let's get started coding this particular game. Okay, and I'm going to build this one in JSBin because it's a relatively small assignment. So the first thing we want to do is maybe create a button that's going to call our functions. Let's flip a coin button. So let's do that now. And inside this button, let's add an onClick event. And let's have it call a function called CoinGame. Okay, and then we also need, well, we'll do that. We'll deal with that later. So coin game. And up to now, we've always been writing our JavaScript in a script tag here, but let's just use the JavaScript pane in JSBin this time. It's, we can separate our code a little better this way. So the onClick event calls the CoinGain function, so let's declare that function. The squigglies define the block where the code that will execute inside the function. And the first thing we'll do is throw up a prompt that returns the player choice, right? Now actually I've purposely left this lowercase because this is such a basic game that I don't want to deal with different types of cases. The user is required to enter lowercase text into the prompt. Yeah, so you have player choice, and then also I'm going to declare a variable called the coin result, which is the result of the flip, okay? And that's actually going to be, that's the declaration, but we're going to have a result returned to it by another method. I'm going to call this method flipCoin. Okay, and so let's now declare that flipCoin method. Oops. Function flipCoin. Doesn't take any variables. And then inside this flipCoin, let's declare a variable random number equals, and this is a new object that you have some exposure to, and this object itself has a method in it, random. And so this is a JavaScript, everything in JavaScript are objects and then associated methods with them. So here's the math object, and it has other methods too, but this is the one that's used the most often. And math.random returns a number between 0 and 0.99, okay? So a random number between 0 and 0.99. So then we just have a simple conditional here. Is less than 0.5, then we'll say it's heads, and if it's more than 0.5, we'll say it's tails. So else. Okay. Now we could say, so heads, right? This is going to be heads and this is going to be tails. But we're going to do something new here in this particular function, and this is the way often you use functions. Is functions return things as what's happening here. Just like the prompt returns something to this variable, the flipCoin function returns a value that then is embedded in the coin result variable. So we can do that by saying return heads or return tails. Okay. And let's just test things, see if things are running okay up till now. Well, we already have a problem here. We don't have the button text showing anything, so let's play flip a coin. And then reference error, coin game is not defined. Okay, interesting. Usually that's a problem with the case or something. So I'm not seeing the error here, or it's certainly not standing out at me. One thing I can do is probably save the snapshot and give it a name. Probably should have done this earlier. Coin game 2, and bring it up. And now let's hit it again. Okay, so it's just sometimes refreshing JSBin gets rid of errors. So let's do heads. And okay, so it seems to be working. Let's see if the flip coin is working too. Console.log coin result, and run it again, and we're getting another error. Coin game is not defined again. Well, let's again reload the page, and now it's working again. Keeps coming up heads though. Tails, there we go. Okay, so let's get rid of our console. Maybe make a little more room for ourselves here. And what we need to do next, of course, is output, decide who's won, and then output that to the screen. So let's add a conditional here. Let's leave this in here for the time being. Want to take it out eventually. But if coin results, remember it's not a single equals because that would be assigning the value, but we want a comparison operator. Player choice. If it's equal, if the coin result equals the player's choice, then of course they've won, right? And so now we need to, let's declare a message, var message here, and then message equals you win. And then otherwise, message equals you lost, you lose. And then let's again verify that this is working. Okay. So the last challenge, of course, is to get that message not to go to the console, but to actually let's start using the DOM, or manipulating the DOM using the kind of you call it the API, the programming interface that JavaScript has built into it. It's got all sorts of hooks into the DOM. And the one I wanted to show you, it's rather extensive. There's all sorts of ways to navigate through the DOM and access elements, but the simplest way is very similar to the way that you would do it with CSS. So let's put in a message here. Or a div rather. And call it ID equals message. And just put something in there for the time being. And let's add a little CSS to that too. Make it go down the screen a bit more. Margin top 200 pixels. Okay, so we want to update this little code here with this message. So how can we do that? Let's get again rid of the console here and the CSS, which we don't need. We do it this way. We go document, and I'll describe in a second what's going on here. Get element by ID, message dot inner HTML equals message. Okay, and let's just verify that it's working. Okay, so what's going on here, and you know, because you're sort of learning this hands-on, you can kind of learn any language, you know, even a foreign language, not a formal language, but like a foreign human language, just by, you know, hearing how a native speaker uses it and then using it yourself. And when you do it that way, you know, you get hands-on experience using the language, and if you do it often enough, you kind of learn the language through osmosis. But of course, there's also a grammar or a syntax or a theory behind a formal language. And so what's going on here is JavaScript is accessing the document object, okay, and this is the document, okay, and then the document itself has lots of methods inside of it, and you can use the get element by ID method and then pass that method a parameter, in this case an ID, and which is this ID, and that then returns this element, and which has a property called inner HTML, and then you can assign some value to that, in this case the message. So that's how this works. So again, just by review, what did you learn here? You learned how to use the math object and one of its associated methods, in this case the random method, to produce random numbers. You learned how to return a value from an object and assign the value to a variable that's, you also learned how to call a function from another function. In this case, you've learned how to call the flip coin function from the coin game function. And then finally, you've learned, probably most importantly, how to manipulate the DOM. And this with perhaps the most popular way of doing it, which is this way, but we'll learn lots of other ways. And just by whetting your appetite, there's, for example, get elements by class, get elements by tag name, all sorts of methods of the document object that you can use for drilling down into the DOM and targeting particular elements that you're trying to get to. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope this is enough for you to code the rock, paper, scissors assignment, and I will make this code available to you for you to fiddle around with.